This video will contain small and light spoilers for the book Dune Messiah. This is a fictional mindbender. Sci-fi has a lot of tropes, and Dune Part 2 and Part 1 as well have one particular trope that you could argue is overused. That being the trope of the mysterious mystical order of warriors within that universe. And in the Dune films, that particular place was occupied by the Bene Gesserit. By now, we should all be familiar with who and what they are. An ancient sisterhood of the known universe, responsible for millennia's worth of genetic manipulation and political maneuvering to create the perfect being, whom they could control and use to best guide humanity as they saw fit. The Bene Gesserit had superhuman abilities known to only a few that included an irresistible psychic domination and manipulation through their voice, using that voice to produce powerful methods of seduction to gain control of any particular male individual who they used it on, and, though not fully showcased in the films itself, were masters of a martial art called the Weirding Way that allowed them to move extremely fast and act with quick and deadly precision, thus making them one of the most formidable fighters in the universe, though it was not their preferred modus operandi, as it were, and known only to a select few outside of their circle. Everything from their setup and abilities to their presentation as mysterious robed women of exotic tastes remind me very much of Star Wars' own orders, the equally well-known Jedi and Sith orders. Both factions use the Force to perform various superhuman abilities. Both are shown to be renowned warriors and carry an incredible amount of clout with them in regards to their impact on the said universe. Both also seem to have a penchant for wearing long flowing cloaked hoodies, and both center around their quasi-religious institution of how they interpret the Force. However, I think of these three religious institutions, the Bene Gesserit and the Sith are the most alike. The Sisterhood and the Jedi do have similar tendencies, such as being behind-the-scenes players in politics while pretending not to be, even if the Jedi may have been fooling themselves in that regard, and also have a prophecy surrounding a Messiah-like figure with even stronger abilities. However, the drive and mentality of the Bene Gesserit are much more closely aligned with Sith ideology and methodology than Jedi. The Sith, especially in Star Wars Legends, were motivated by a conviction to bend the Force itself to their will. Like a river, where the Jedi rather just let it flow as it will and follow it along, the Sith would rather divert the river by any means necessary to go in the direction that they wanted to go in. And this lines up with the Bene Gesserit thought as well, regarding their centuries-long planning and tampering with the gene pool of the noble houses to produce that superhuman being that they could control, guiding humanity to their version of the future. Which, by the way, was not that different, ironically, from what Paul Atreides did, but it was just that Paul's vision was different and he could not be controlled. To this end, both factions were extremely manipulative, often working behind the scenes, as I said before. However, there is one slight difference in this regard, though. The Sith would and did manipulate circumstances and events. However, old school Sith usually preferred the direct path of conquest and open domination, full-scale wars across the galaxy and all that. That said, both they and the Sisterhood used genetic and biological manipulation to this end as well, with the Legends Sith creating forced monstrosities and the Bene Gesserit using arranged marriages with the most strongest and controllable offspring that can be produced to further their ends. And both organizations, when not getting what they want, would choose violence, with the Sith being somewhat obvious in that they are forms of outbursts of violent rage, and the Bene Gesserit in the Dune movies turning to trying to wipe out entire houses, root and stem, through proxy because they could not be controlled. And light spoilers here, but in the book, the Bene Gesserit turned to forced contraceptions and assassination attempts to try and eliminate Paul Atreides and any future children, years after he had become emperor, to this end. I wouldn't go so far as to call the Bene Gesserit the Sith of the Dune universe, just like I wouldn't say the Sith were the Bene Gesserit of the Star Wars universe. For example, while sex was not a main tool that the Force users employed to get what they want to conquer the galaxy, in the Bene Gesserit's world, it was the primary tool. But having said that, the two sects usually had more in common than they didn't. And I think that's what made the Bene Gesserit interesting to me in the Dune movies. But having said that, what are your opinions on that? Let me know in the comments below. But this is the Fictional Mindbender. You guys have a good day.